Welcome back, besties. Karissa here again, and we are jumping into chapter 3 of Darlene Shack's book, The 7 Virtues of a Proverbs 31 Woman. And this week, the Bible study is on kindness. And I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to read a quote from page 39 and 40. Here we go. As Christians, we are called to let our light shine as we embody the love and compassion of Christ. By giving hope and joy to others around us, we honor and glorify God. Matthew 5:16 says, "In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." And I just want to highlight that part, glorify your Father in heaven. That is why we try to do good deeds for Him. I know as Christians, it's so easy to do it for ourselves. Even doing the right thing for the wrong reason, right, is still wrong. And I think we are called to do the right things, but it's for His glory and not for ours. Page 40, she's referencing to the parable of the Good Samaritan, and she says, "The parable teaches us that being a good neighbor is not just a duty, it is a demonstration of love and compassion to others. It reminds us to go the extra mile to show kindness and love, to be generous with both our time and our money, and to reach out to those who are different from us in the same way that we would reach out to family and friends." I found that part so challenging, to reach out to those who are different from us the same way that I would with my family and friends. And I think the reason it's challenging to me is that my family is like everything to me. I love my parents, my siblings, my in-laws, and of course my husband and my children. Like, what would I not do for them, right? But there's so many things I can think of that I wouldn't do for a complete stranger, and I don't want to think that way. And I thought I'd actually share a story that really challenged me, because somebody loved me as if I was their family. And this was about a year ago. I had a coworker named Debbie, and I was 37 weeks pregnant. I was almost 38 weeks pregnant, and on my last day of work, she came into work with like 2 huge bags of baby clothes that she had purchased, brand new, and she left the receipt in the bag so that if I wanted to go and like exchange things or sizes, I could. But she spent $200 on me on baby clothes, and I had never been that generous before to someone, especially someone who's not family, with baby stuff. And I felt so loved. Like, I was just in tears that day, and she had been so just so kind to me the whole time we were working, and so excited for me to have a baby. Yeah, it just made such an impact. And I remember that day when I got home, I called my mom and told her and took a picture of all of this stuff, and she was in tears, and she said, "It's beautiful to see somebody else love my daughter the way that I would want them to," but she said, "What a challenge for me, because I would not normally be willing to be that generous to someone who's not my family." And it challenged me too, to be like, wow, what the way that I feel right now, like the blessing that I just received, like I want to do that for other people. Why do I withhold that? And so this coworker of mine, she definitely made an impact. And just going over the story of the Good Samaritan, this parable, it really does illustrate the whole fact that Jesus tells us to love our enemies. And this parable really helps us to see that He like humanizes His enemy. It's so easy when you're on the opposite side of someone to just really devalue them as a person. Jesus teaches so many times in the Gospels to love our enemies, and this is an example of just that. I'm just going to read a little bit from page 42 and 43. The parable challenges us to live beyond ourselves as we consider the needs of those around us, while it calls us to imitate the life and the example of Jesus, who loved us and gave Himself up for us. Yes, Jesus again is the perfect example of kindness to us. And then page 43, are you reaching out to others as Christ has reached out to us? Are we extending grace to those who are difficult, undeserving, and unkind? Or are we so caught up in our own worlds that we don't notice others? You may be thinking, but I don't have much to give. How can I make a difference? The truth is that we all have something to give. It may be our time, our talents, or even a kind word or a listening ear. I want to challenge you, it might just be a smile. If you are super intimidated to start just showing kindness to strangers, start smiling. It makes such a difference. I am someone who just loves to smile. I am a bit of an obnoxiously cheerful person and a morning person, which is obnoxious for my poor husband, who is not. a morning person, but it's amazing the impact that just going to the grocery store and having a smile on your face can make, even when the lineup is like all the way to the back of the store. Like having that smile, not being grumpy, not complaining, amazing how much of a difference that can make. And I just wanted to share from this perspective, like I know I've heard studies that have talked about abuse and how neglect is the worst kind of abuse, because if they are neglected, it's like you're almost pretending that they don't even exist, and that causes significant harm to that person. And I just, in that way, in our culture, we so easily ignore each other, don't we? Like going to the grocery store, it's like we don't make eye contact. Even if we see somebody that we know, we like turn the other way, we don't talk to each other. And we're waiting in line and we're all on our phones, not acknowledging that there's another person right beside you, and you could talk to them if you wanted, but we don't. And I just find it so interesting how much we neglect each other in that way. And I don't know, when I'm walking down the street or going to the grocery store, like I don't want to neglect people by just pretending I don't see them. They're worth a smile. And I also have received comments before, like, that smile that you just gave me made my day, or it's so nice to see somebody having a good attitude in the store, or whatever it is, or just the cashier being like, wow, everybody's so grouchy today, thank you for not complaining about the lineups, or whatever it is, right? Like, that little thing, it can be a little thing, a little act of kindness, that can go a long, long way. And so if you're terrified to start, I would say that's a very good step. Give somebody a smile. Moving on, I was going to read the verse that she has here on page 46 and 47. It's Matthew 25, 34 to 40. And it says, "Then the king will say to those on his right, 'Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me.' Then the righteous will answer him, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or need clothing and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go visit you?' The king will reply, 'Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me.'" And, I would love, I don't know how many of you have ever dreamed about like seeing Jesus in person and what your response would be to seeing him. And I just, that desire in my heart is burning to just like serve him. But then I realize he's given me that opportunity on earth, and it is in serving the least of these. And in my day-to-day grind, that looks like serving my children, changing the diapers, feeding them food, cleaning up the food off of the floor, putting away the toys, doing the laundry. And it can feel so unimportant, but those acts of kindness make a difference. And they don't go unnoticed by him, that's for sure. So I thought I would just answer a couple of the questions at the end by the challenge. And one of them was, can you think of a time when somebody did something small, a small act of kindness that had an impact on you? And this actually happened like a week ago. I had a friend stop by unannounced, out of the blue, to drop off a chocolate bar. And behind that, in the background of that day, I had been just feeling so discouraged and really tired. And I had actually asked my 2-year-old to pray for me. And I said, "Could you pray for mommy to have strength for the day?" And so she did. She said her little prayer, and it was all good. And then like 15 minutes later, I had a friend show up with a treat for me, and she just said, "Hey, God keeps putting you on my mind, so I thought I'd bring you a treat, and I hope if you're having a bad day that it'll get better." And not only did I feel obviously loved and seen by God in that moment, but also just by my friend being willing to stop by when she hadn't stopped by in like months and months. We hadn't hung out or seen each other in a long time. And she bought me a treat. It was just very thoughtful. It was just such a small act of kindness, but it made the rest of my day so much easier. And I felt so loved the rest of that day. It really impacted me. And it's something so small, right? Like we often just kind of, if we can't do something significant, we just write ourselves off and don't do anything at all. And I think that's exactly what the enemy wants to do, is make us feel like we have nothing to offer. And I promise you, you do. You have something. What's the other question? I know it's, oh yeah. When was a situation you found it hard or challenging to be kind to someone, and what could you have done differently? Okay, I used to work in customer service as a cashier, and if you've ever worked in customer service, you know you can often get blamed for things that you did not do, but what can you do about it? And it can just, that pride can just well up in you, and you want to defend yourself so bad, right? So there was a gentleman that came in one time to my store and just was literally throwing a fit, started yelling, and was angry at me and was angry at some other people, and then he got my boss to come out, of course, and he was just yelling at my boss, and he said, like, what kind of man are you, and blah, blah, blah. He was just being so rude. And I wanted to be like, how dare you talk to my boss that way? Like, this man is a great boss. He deserves your respect. Like, stop yelling. And that was like my, woo, like, that's what I wanted to do. And in that moment, I just felt like God kind of wanted me to just go stand beside my boss and just try and be a peaceful and kind presence. And so I just stood there and was like smiling and whatever. I probably could have said something a little bit, I don't know. I don't even remember exactly what I said, but it did diffuse the situation. He did calm down. They figured some stuff out, but yeah. It's so easy to want to defend yourself in that kind of situation. And I know I have before. And, you know, the Bible really does say to turn the other cheek, and that God is the one who defends us. And, man, that's hard to do. And then the last question says, reflect on how you can incorporate some small acts of kindness into your interactions with others throughout the week, and write down any ideas. And I just said, I want to make my husband feel really special when he walks in the door from work. I feel that's an opportunity that I have that can get old sometimes, but I want to go back to being, you know, just letting him see how excited I am to see him, and giving him my full attention for those few minutes, and also letting my kids, you know, be really excited that Daddy's home, and just, making him feel really special when he walks through the door, as well as just smiling at my toddler more. I want to do that. I know it's so easily when, you know, they're being defiant often to look frustrated, but I want to show her that. I want her to see me smiling at her more often than she sees me being frustrated. So that is a wrap on this week's Bible study. As always, you guys can purchase this book on Amazon. If you cannot afford to buy it, it is available for free download if you go to timewarpwife.com and become a subscriber. Then all of Darlene's Bible studies are available there for free download. Thank you guys for being here, and as always, I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.